Well, hello. It's Tuesday, June 25th. The Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the things we'll be talking about today. Apple has rolled out the beta update to iOS 13. We'll give you a quick rundown at the top of the show, and later we'll be joined by mobile editor Julian Tricatu to give us his thoughts. And SpaceX is back at it with another mostly successful launch taking place in the early hours of the morning. There was a first-time success and a bit of a failure as well. We'll give you the details. And online and streaming gaming is becoming ever more present, and browsing platform Opera has their own new browser designed specifically for gaming. Their product director will tell us all about it. And electric cars are so 2018. What about solar cars? That's what a new company has designed. Kind of. It looks cool, it's really expensive, and I want one. We'll tell you about the Lightyear one and a lot more here on today's Digital Trends Live. There it is, Portland, Oregon.
There it is. Look at that majestic bridge back there.
Lay it out before you right now.
I'm always curious to see which angle we're gonna get.
It is true, yeah. The sights, the smells, and sounds of a hardworking city right there in front of us. That is Portland, Oregon. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. Thank you so much for joining us today. However you found us, we always appreciate it. We're here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech news, headlines, interviews, and discussions across a number of different platforms. Let me tell you about said platforms. We're on LinkedIn Live, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, Twitch. We're on YouTube Live as well. We're on Dailymotion. We're on Apple News. We're on 2 different apps, and we're at digitaltrends.com/live, where you can also chat and join us in conversation right there, in addition to all those other platforms. And thank you to everybody who's joining us. Shout out to Mikey, who said this is his favorite show. Thank you, Mikey. We appreciate you tuning in. Big shout out to Raymond as well, and George, and everybody else who's joining us wherever you find us. It's so much fun, and we have a lot to cover as usual today. But to start off, I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Adrian Warner.
Good morning, Greg.
Good morning. You missed the memo on the coordination of the sweaters. It's a bit upsetting.
The frustrating part is I got the memo and then I forgot the memo.
She did. If you go back and look on Digital Trends Twitter account, there's a perfect example of how Luke and I matched, and that's actually what we're aiming for.
I did not follow suit, literally.
Yeah, we really want more conforming, more looking exactly the same. That's, well, I said that.
We must all look like Nibbler Bud.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Oh God, no. All right, let's continue on. Let's talk about some news. So we do have a lot of trending topics to cover today, and the first off is this, and this is something that if you are an Apple user, if specifically an Apple phone user, you know that this is rolling out. And it's the iOS 13 beta update that is happening.
That's right.
This is something they debuted. We knew that was going to be happening when they last had their conference and their Worldwide Developer Conference, and now we're getting to see it actually in hand. And it sounds like people are enjoying it. It's from some key things that are happening with this, with the iOS beta update. Dark mode, which a lot of people love their dark mode.
A lot of people love dark mode. It's a lot easier on the eyes. It's a welcome, change from your normal, I don't know, landing page.
Yeah.
That's not the way I describe it.
Yeah, nonetheless. So are you a dark mode user?
I haven't used dark mode, actually. I really want to try this out, and if you want to also try it out as well, you can go to digitaltrends.com. We have instructions on how to update it on your phone.
Perfect.
Also with recommendations to back everything up, since this is still in beta.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cool features on here I do want to try. I haven't tried dark mode, but improved text editing, improved photo editing. The sign-in with Apple is a really huge key feature that I think is getting a lot of attention due to people wanting more and more privacy with their data.
Yeah, that was a big push they made. I mean, right now, we're probably all familiar. You can sign in with Google or Facebook on a lot of different platforms and websites, but Apple now being a part of that as well. And that's, their push saying we're more secure than Google or Facebook. So you want to sign in with Apple, but there's an option that's being rolled out.
You can, and it'll include your biometric. So if you use either your fingerprint or your Face ID, it'll include that as authentication, and then it also includes two-factor authentication on top of that. And also another cool thing is if you sign up for an app that asks for your information, it'll randomize a new email for you. So it'll generate an email, give it to them, and then if that developer needs to get in touch with you, it'll route to your email, but they'll never have your contact information.
I kind of like that idea.
I love that idea.
That may get me to switch over to that. I'm an Android user, but that is definitely something that I would appreciate, that kind of advantage there.
Yeah,
not giving out your email address.
It'll include a lot more updates about like when apps are actually using your data, because now it's kind of a little bit limited when it tells you, tracking your location and things like that. You're technically allowed to enable it, but this will give you a little bit more awareness of when it's being used and how.
Okay. So that is, again, this is the iOS 13 update that's rolling out. It's a public beta. So it's not the actual final one. Like Adrian said, you want to back up your phone to make sure that you have all your data backed up just in case something goes wrong, because they're not guaranteeing anything with this, but you can certainly get in there. And it sounds like a lot of people are enjoying trying out a lot of these features. And if you're an Apple user, you're excited about these, let me know. I know one thing that it appears that Apple users are excited about is swipe texting.
Yeah.
That's been on Android forever.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, way to catch up.
Yeah, that was the one thing.
You just had to throw that burn in there, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to throw something in there. I've been there, done that, already had it. But no, it does look pretty cool, some of the updates. And we, like you said, we have a whole rundown and an update at digitaltrends.com. And we've got Julian Tricatu, our mobile editor, who's done a hands-on with it, and he's going to be joining us here later on in the show to give us his specific thoughts and walk through what he really enjoys compared to what it was before. But it sounds like this is something pretty cool. So you are an Apple user. Will you be updating?
I am.
Your iPhone?
The debate is on whether I'll delete enough dog pictures from my phone to actually install this thing, but I would really like to try it out, yes.
If the dog pictures don't prevent you from gearing up for it. All right, well, take a look at that. That's all at digitaltrends.com. And again, you can drop in your comments and questions. And since Julian will be joining us later, if you have specific questions about iOS 13, he's the expert. He's gonna be on here, and he can answer those for you. So get those into your chat, whatever platform you're on, and I'll make sure we make a note of it, and then we'll ask Julian when he joins us later on in the show. All right, speaking of comments, it is now time for a little bit of Read 'em and Weep. This is where we take a look at the comments across our many different platforms, and we pick a few. Actually, Jake, our producer, picks a few, so we have no idea what's coming. And Adrian and I are just sitting here at the beck and whim. Like, if you leave the comment, this could be, you could get a general, real reaction is what happens right now. Robert. Yep. Regarding Uranus's rings shine brightly, but hold puzzle for astronomers. Even Whisk won't remove that ring around Uranus. All right, so there we go, Adrian. Response.
Starting out strong.
Response.
What's Whisk?
We'll just leave it at that. Robert, thank you for leaving that comment there on the platform. I'm really glad that was left on Facebook. Really appreciate you, Robert, right now.
Thanks, Robert.
Mike.
Moving on to Mike Purnell. Researchers sent a fake, unblockable presidential alert. Oh, we will be getting to this later. To a 50,000-seat stadium. And now everyone knows it can be done. The countdown is on until Russians start sending alerts during the 2020 election.
That's kind of true. We're going to get into this. We'll give you some details on exactly what happened here in just a little bit during our news segment. But yeah, man, once they can access that, it's kind of... Mike, I would say let's ease off on conspiracy theories.
Right.
I'm kind of with Mike on this one.
Yeah, the news around this is that it's kind of paving a path for anybody to send an alert, and like you said, we'll get to that later. So you may be onto something, Mr. Purnell.
All right, Mike. Yep, you know too much.
Silence him.
Mick, regarding here are a few future jobs that will be in space. I've worked with a few space cadets before. It is like dad joke central.
This is.
So Mick.
Got our mix and our mics.
It's not bad. It's not bad, Mick. Mick is a hoot at parties.
Well done.
He has a
at
couple
barbecues.
Barbecues. Has a couple of Coors Lights. He likes to, joke around a bit and has a good time. All right,
All
Mick.
right, Ricky. New Senate bill would completely change the internet as we know it. If it's controversial to ask grown adult business owners to take responsibility for their products, then us regular folk shouldn't have any responsibility for what we post onto their products.
All right. That is a deep cut there. Okay, so a new Senate bill will change. Yeah, I mean that is a complicated one to answer on that. I know we had Juan Garcia on here on Friday. He was really emphasizing that people read this article and talk about what it actually means. But yeah, that is something that I think we all need to take a deep look at.
Yes, educate ourselves more. I definitely need to catch up on some reading as.
Yeah, so Ricky, thank you for your comment on there, and we do appreciate you letting us know your thoughts as we go through here. All right, and now we've got Mycroft.
Oh, Mycroft Holmes is weighing
Mycroft
in.
Holmes. Long, far removed relative of Sherlock, I'm sure. All right.
Isn't that
Adrian,
just
would
his
you like-
brother?
Yeah, I think so. It was. It's Mycroft all along.
How to watch SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch live. SpaceX isn't just launching rockets into space, they're launching hopes and dreams for mankind.
Hopes and dreams for mankind.
I mean,
okay.
Cool. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're going,
A
Adrian.
bit lofty.
How do you feel about SpaceX right now? Is it launching hopes and dreams?
It's launching coolness. I don't know if that's really the take that they want, but I mean, it's doing a lot of interesting things for. They're doing stuff with like the U.S.
The space industry in general,
Yeah,
space
the
tourism.
Space
I mean,
tourism, the Department of Defense. Sorry, I lost that for a
I
moment.
think it's definitely cool. The cool factor is certainly there, and we're going to give some
factor is
details
there.
too on what SpaceX launched.
I think it's giving more hopes and dreams to people who wanted to be astronauts as kids and people who wanted to work for rockets and
Me.
things like that.
Yeah.
Is it giving you hopes and dreams, Greg?
Yeah. I mean, I'm ready to go.
Okay, well
I'm ready to go up.
then you should definitely be.
Yes. This is my pitch
is
every day.
exciting.
This is my pitch for SpaceX to say, they want DT live in space.
Right,
I mean,
true.
somebody's got to be the first show broadcast in space. I think that Digital Trends Live should be that show. I want to say hello to Jeff Bezos, who's tuning in, I'm sure, right now, and Elon Musk and Richard Branson. All three of you together, let's start a bidding war to see who can get DT live up in space first. I think we're okay with that here. And we would appreciate you writing us right now. Send us your pitch on why Digital Trends Live should be the first broadcast.
I think you just started with the perfect pitch.
There it is, right there. All right, let's continue on. I do want to say this. We have a deal here today, so we're going to talk about SpaceX here in a minute, but this is Digital Trends Live. We broadcast live here every weekday at Digital Trends, and we will have a special, actually, deal just for you watching right now. And this has to do with this. This is the Wonder Boom speaker. We've got a deal going on with where you use the words DT Live Boom. I'll tell you exactly how to do it, but if you don't have a Bluetooth speaker, and especially a waterproof Bluetooth speaker, you're missing out. These are fantastic. I actually have one of these, and this is the Ultimate Ears Wonder Boom. So Bluetooth speaker. It is a real special deal that they have going on right now. Normally these things range from $50 to $70, and sometimes even more than that. Right now, for $43.99, you can get this specific speaker. And it's, like I said, it's waterproof. A couple of specific details on it. I mean, it's a really, really great use. It's got 360-degree speaker, 10 hours of battery life. It's perfect for the summer.
Perfect for camping.
Perfect for camping, perfect for if you go rafting, perfect for if you're in the pool. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. And that waterproof factor means you can be really clumsy and you're not going to break your speaker. And that's very important for people like me and probably a lot of people out there. So the deal is this. We've got a code. We've got a URL that you can use. It's a bit.ly one, so bit.ly/DTLiveBoom. DT Live Boom is the keyword there. That's your promo code. And if you use that promo code, you can get it for $43.99. Of note, when you get it sent to you, so normally these things are sold in 2-packs or 4-packs. So when you get it, it's going to come in a brown box packaging from Logitech. So they've split them up, and that's how you can get part of this good deal on it. So it's DT Live Boom is, again, the promo code. And it's bit.ly/DTLiveBoom. And that's how you can pick up this Ultimate Ears Wonder Boom waterproof speaker. It's awesome. And I kind of want to take this one home. But instead, I'm going to use the code. I will use the code, DT Live Boom. But I am going to pick one of these up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
These are really, really cool. I need another one. Everybody needs a bunch of them, really.
Yeah.
Never have enough.
Yeah. So pick that up. Take advantage. It's something that we're offering here to you because you are listening and watching our show. We do appreciate it. And a big thanks to Ultimate Ears for this, too. Again, that's the Wonder Boom on sale right now. bit.ly/DT Live Boom. Take advantage of that. All right, let's talk about some more news here as well. Getting back to SpaceX.
Yes,
in
getting
general.
back to space.
So yesterday was the launch of the SpaceX Falcon Heavy. This is the big one.
The mega one.
The mega one. This is the third time they've launched this, and this was a big test for SpaceX because the U.S. Air Force was watching. As part of they're paying close attention because if they had done well yesterday, if they did well, or I guess early this morning is when it was technically launched, they were in line for perhaps a long-term commitment from the Departments of Defense to send up satellites for them and different national security objects into space. And it was pretty successful.
Mostly successful. They lost their core booster in a crash landing, but it sounds like their rockets were successful in launch.
Yeah, deploying the actual satellites, they had a pretty heavy payload in this. And normally...
For 13 different partners total, it
Yeah.
sounded like a whole lot of stuff on there.
Yeah, 24 satellites, 20 distinct separate events had to take place to get those satellites into orbit. I mean, it's a very complex, even Elon Musk was saying, a lot of people were talking about this, how this is the most complex launch that they've had, the biggest test that they've had. And other than, the core not
Right.
being recovered, it was still pretty successful overall.
Yes, absolutely. So just to give you kind of an idea of scale, the Falcon Heavy is essentially equivalent to 18 747s.
18 747s. That
And
is a lot.
It can take into orbit a weight equal to about 64 metric tons.
Which is, I mean, that's a lot. That's
yeah.
that's a lot to get out into space, and that proves, this is the most powerful rocket on Earth. 141,000 pounds, 64 metric tons. Jeez, yeah, that's a lot.
So the fact that this did go pretty successfly with so much complicated stuff on board is a really exciting moment in SpaceX history. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
exciting moment for SpaceX, exciting moment for just space travel in general, because this is how we get more and more space travel is, using reusable rockets. And even though the core booster, this is also the one from the last launch, they were able to land it, so it lands on a drone ship out at sea. The last one, then there was rough seas, and it fell over and fell into the ocean. Still can't prevent that. It's gone. This one didn't quite make it to the drone ship. There's actually a video that they posted where it's just almost there, but then it just falls into the sea. So there it is actually right there. So you can see it coming down, and then that's not landing on the ship.
Nope.
Landed over there. But the other two boosters did make it back, and something that was a first for this time was that they were able to get back the falling nose cone. So the fairing. So it's a fairing nose cone, and this is what shields the actual payload.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and that's something that's very expensive, and they were able to recover that this time. It actually lands in a big net out at sea. Yeah,
I love the idea of just like a drone-controlled ship with like a giant net, like.
Right?
It's like, a carnival game.
It is. You picture some guy
The world's most expensive
in a
carnival
room with like
game.
an Xbox control, like trying to move the drone to land on it. It's probably a little more complex than that.
Yeah, probably a little more complex, but very, very stressful, I would imagine.
Yes, I would imagine so. And they were able to get the nose cone out of this. So again, all these pieces, those are millions and millions and millions, if not more, dollars. And the more that you can recover and reuse those, the more you can send this up, the cheaper space travel becomes, and this just pushes us all forward. One other thing that was on the flight was the atomic clock, and I'll be talking about that more later on in the show. I'll give you a rundown of why that's important and how that could actually affect us, because a lot of these things, when it comes to space travel, eventually that technology, this cutting edge technology they're using, it's going to affect us directly. These are things that we'll be able to utilize. Maybe we don't even know how yet, but it's very, very important. 5 years from now, this is something, whatever they're doing up there, could affect you directly. And that's what we'll talk about with the atomic clock. But a lot that went up with this launch. Again, I think it's great for space travel. It's great for the commercial space industry, and just what we can do partnering with NASA. It's fun stuff.
It is fun stuff. It's fun.
It's fun. Have fun. So that's what we have there for the SpaceX launch. But you can check out more about that at digitaltrends.com and let us know what you think, and catch yourself up to date on everything that did go up with this. So it's still moving forward. They've got another one though, in I think about a month it's scheduled, where they're taking up, we had Mike Massimino, a former astronaut, on yesterday. They're taking up an oven to bake cookies in for the astronauts.
Wonderful.
Yes, so the astronauts will have cookies if that next one goes according to plan. But we've got a full schedule and everything at digitaltrends.com. All right.
All right. Moving on, yes, coming back to the story that we were talking about a little bit earlier in our Read 'em and Weep segment, a group of researchers actually went out and sent a test text from the presidential alerts system to a 50,000-seat football stadium. So using commercially available technology, they were able to send a fake alert to
Yeah.
a bunch of different phones with a 90% success rate.
Yeah, this is pretty big. So if you remember earlier this year, I believe it was,
There was a test one.
Yeah, there was a test one. This is the first time that the President of the United States has been able to send out an actual alert nationwide. You probably got it on your phone. It said presidential alert. This is a test, but it proved that they could instantly reach everybody in the United States. You would think that would be a very secure thing. Only the president or only certain people in the national security industry would be able to have that. But this is pretty scary. This is showing that these people from University of Colorado Boulder were able to mimic it and fake it and spoof an alert and send it to what would have been a 50,000 person stadium.
Yeah, and
there's so many ramifications.
There's so many, terrifying scenarios where something like that could go wrong. They put forth, in their research that there's just a massive vulnerability in the cellular network in the U.S. And they suggested a couple ways to fix the problem, but all of them are very complicated.
Yeah.
So it seems like this is not necessarily something that's just going to, get a patch or a fix overnight. It's going to take a lot of collaboration and effort between different cell carriers.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem
like a very, very high likely that this likelism, that this is going to happen quick. The idea that they were mimic the LTE signal sent out by a cell phone tower and how they were able to do this. So the ramifications, thinking about this, if somebody were to figure out how to hack it, they figured out how to hack it and said it was very easy. This could cause all kinds of problems. That this ability, I personally think they should just remove the ability altogether.
I think so as well.
Until we can get it secure.
If you get a real one, how accurate is it going to be anyways?
And that's the problem. How accurate could it even be? But also, people just believing it, or if there's mass hysteria, or they send out fake things, or if it's just we send out, somebody accesses it and sends it out a couple of times, people aren't even going to read it anyway.
Yeah, it's
so if there is a real emergency, it's just going to be ignored.
Exactly. It's a cry wolf situation where if we get a real emergency and people say, well, I just get these updates all the time. Maybe not all the time, but I've read that these could be fake. I've read that people misuse these, and then you cannot follow real orders for evacuation or something equally terrifying.
Yeah, so it's definitely an interesting study on that and what they were able to do, and it showcases some weaknesses in our systems and that need to be addressed. This is something that has to be addressed, and you can read more about it at digitaltrends.com. Again, just to let you know. So to sum it up, the team from the University of Colorado Boulder were able to fake a presidential alert text and send it out to what would have been, they didn't actually do it, but what would have been a 50,000 person stadium. So just wrap your mind around that for a little bit, think about that, and make sure you keep it on top of mind, because we need to be doing something about that, and something's got to be done when it comes down to how we manage that system. So catch up on digitaltrends.com. I know we're running out of time, but this is probably the most important thing.
Very high level information.
Adrienne, would you care to reveal this to the people?
Chevrolet's in-car pizza ordering app. It's real. It's happening. It's available to 2017 models and newer. It takes place in the Chevrolet Marketplace, which is just a virtual store on the dashboard with Domino's. Domino's is the partner there, and you can set up a pizza profile and then get to ordering to any predetermined destination.
Yeah, so
through your car.
You're at the beach, you're in the parking lot, whatever, you want a pizza, boom, you just hit it on your car. And
For some reason, you don't have your phone.
Yeah, well, it'll deliver, because most of the time, like if you just called and said, hey, I'm in the parking lot, I want a pizza.
Right, you're usually, maybe not. A lot of times.
I don't know why I'm emphasizing parking lot, like I'm going to be in a parking lot all the time.
How many parking lots do you order pizza from, Greg?
Well, all of them now with this new app. But yeah, so you hit this button, and it's weird that Chevrolet has a whole app store just for apps designed around the car, and there were some interesting aspects with that as far as where that could end up going.
Oh yeah, it seems like I think it's going to be more and more likely that we'll see more and more of this with different major car manufacturers. So like Ford and Starbucks. This is just an idea.
No, and that is
this
something.
Could be popping up more and more, especially with the push towards autonomous vehicles. People want you to shop more.
Yeah,
car.
They want, and it provides, if you think about everybody with you can get food delivered pretty much anywhere for your houses now. Now you can have it delivered to your car. The mobility factor of that I think there's a lot of details to work out because what if somebody's just driving along and then
That's
stops,
what I
waits for
thought.
the pizza guy, and then
It's like, if
moving.
you don't arrive to your destination soon enough, is the pizza guy just following you? Like,
I'm
hey.
not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure on that part, but still, it's pretty cool as far as how it would work. I think the idea is cool, just having it delivered to your car. But that's something that you can do if you have one of these 2017
That's
or
right.
newer
I
Chevrolets.
think even if you have if you have an older than a 2017 model, you can still there's certain compatible cars that can still get the
You can
app
still get
update.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let us know if you order a pizza for
Via your
car.
Chevrolet.
I want to know how it is, especially if you're in a parking lot, because that's clearly the key. That's
Or
where
at the
this is going to be
beach.
used. No, just parking lots.
Just
that's it.
Parking lot at the beach.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into Digital Trends Live. Again, we really do appreciate everybody who joins us here every single day, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you for having me.
And we have some more coming up. So Caleb Dennison, the one and only, we were able to get him on the line. Actually, he's going to be here in studio talking about smart homes.
No way.
I know, it's a big one. Caleb's going to be joining us. If you have questions for him, let us know. He is going to be talking about smart homes and trying to get you ready for Amazon Prime Day, which is coming up before too long. But getting that smart home started. There's some really cool things that he wants to talk about. But up next, online gaming. We know it's getting bigger and bigger. It's moving more and more towards online with the gaming world. And Opera has come up with a gaming browser specifically for that. So we're going to have their product designer, Maciej Kotsemba, who's going to be joining us to talk about their new platform, what it means for you, what some of the aspects of it are, what you should be paying attention to, and also let us know your questions by dropping them in there wherever you are finding us. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Again, thanks everyone for joining us. So we broadcast live every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. That means you should hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you're watching. That way you make sure you get the notifications when we go live and we can have these conversations directly with you. We're also at digitaltrends.com/live, and you can join us on there as well. It's another platform that we have, so wherever you are, we can find you and you can find us. So thanks for joining us. We've got a lot to talk about today. Joining us right now here on the show, it is the one and only Mr. Caleb Dennison.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Caleb, Prime Day is coming up, and Prime Day is huge.
I have a correction for you, Greg.
Yes.
It's Prime Days now.
Oh, that's right.
It's
multiple days.
It's multiple days, and I'm really curious because there's always this, they're running out of stock towards the end of the whole event. Are they going to have what you want when you want it? Now they're bumping that out to a full 48 hours. Are they going to be able to keep up? What are the dregs of products going to look like at the end of that second day?
Seriously.
That, or they just bought a whole bunch of new warehouses and they're ready to rock with like tons of products.
It could be that too. And Prime Day, we're anticipating starting on July 15th. That's the rumors. And we'll be having a huge long broadcast of like 4 hours we'll be doing on that day to help you find all the deals. But you might as well start prepping ahead of time. And that's what Caleb is here to help us out with.
Yeah, I think that Prime Day is a great time to start building out your smart home. If you've been thinking about doing that, but you just haven't pulled the trigger yet, Prime Days is when you're going to want to do it, because all of Amazon's devices, I mean, they sell all kinds of great stuff, TVs from Samsung, LG, Sony, whatever, but they discount their own products especially deep. And I think that's why now would be a good time to maybe start building out basic stuff for a smart home. Smarten up your dumb home.
Smarten up your dumb home. All right, well, let's talk about the first one here that we've got.
That's the
nice basic
This
intro.
is the Echo Dot.
Yes.
And, the first version of this thing wasn't much.
Yeah.
But they improved it vastly. And the great thing about this smart speaker is that, it's unobtrusive. It fits well on your nightstand. I love using this as an alarm clock. And it's just really easy to integrate in your home, kind of tuck out of the way if you don't really want to see it. But it gives you access to you-know-who. Alexa. Sorry, don't want to set off anybody's speakers.
Right.
But that allows you to control all of the products that we're going to be talking about later. And it's also the least expensive way to get into it. Now, it's on sale right now for $50. It goes on sale every once in a while for $35. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this thing discounted down to $25 on Prime Days.
Yeah, last year we had a huge discount. I know, the other version.
And at that price, you can maybe afford to outfit a few different rooms with it, so that it doesn't matter where you are in your home, you can control your smart devices, turn on the lights,
have them all connected.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound half bad,
No, the sound's not too bad on. I'll admit, I hook it up with a different Bluetooth speaker that I have, a bigger one, so I just run it through through the A word. But
don't say the A word.
Yeah, don't say the A word. But it does. It connects with pretty much everything. It's a great way to get into it. If you're just, smart home curious, you want to know if this is something you want to get into, great way to start it off.
Smart home curious.
Smart home curious.
I like that.
Coining that right now.
So the next product I think is worth taking a look at is the Echo Show. This is Amazon's version of a smart display. Basically, think of it like a tablet that is built in with a speaker, and it gives you access to the A word, and can also play videos and display pictures and all that other thing. I think this is great for the kitchen. It's a great thing to look at recipes on. It's a good place to display your family photos if that's what you're into. Also functions as a speaker, and of course gives you control to all your smart home devices. And if I'm not mistaken, integrates nicely with the next product that we've got on the list. And that would be the ever so popular Ring Video Doorbell.
Yes.
Now, the Ring Video Doorbell, the original version, which is still great, is currently $100, but it's been around for a while, and as a first generation product, I think it's fair to expect that it's going to come down in price even more. I'm not going to say 50% off. It's not an Amazon product, but it does work with you-know-who, Alexa. And if it's $100 now, I think we're going to see a good discount. And I can't tell you how much I enjoy having a video doorbell. Legit. It has changed everything for me and my family.
Yeah, I just got mine. I just got into it maybe about, I don't know, 6 months ago I got mine, and I now have that and 2 of the security cams.
Yep.
I got Ring everything, and it's there's other companies out there that do it as well, but Ring is the one that I've used. I have enjoyed it. You get a little bit obsessed sometimes, where you just sit there and look at the cameras, like, oh,
what's happening outside my house?
Who's
right
walking
now?
by my house right now? Yeah.
Well, I've been able to talk to delivery folks and other visitors that I needed to talk to when I couldn't be there. It's handy for that, but from a security standpoint, excuse me, pardon me, it's live coughing just for you. From a security standpoint, there's this whole network of people that join together. I mean, you may have seen on Facebook somebody posting a video of somebody stealing something off of somebody's porch. That's the social aspect that Ring brings better than any other platform, in my opinion. So, and I do know of stories where, people have been caught, items have been recovered. But I mean, it's just a smart thing to have in this day and age.
Well, the more you get things delivered, the more things are going to get stolen. So it's nice to have that on there.
Yeah, and I think it is a decent deterrent. People know that people are watching, and it's a good deterrent. Anyway,
so those are all the basics, the starters, the Echo Dot, the Echo Show, the Ring doorbell. Good ways to get in the door.
Yeah, and I would also mention that there's a couple other inexpensive pieces you can get into. There's a company called, I believe it's Kayla, which sounds a lot, Casa, not Caleb. I was thinking of, my alter ego, Caleb. Casa makes a really inexpensive set of smart light bulbs. Right now you can get a set of 3 of them for like $54. Again, the price on this stuff is going to go down. So if you want to install light bulbs that don't need a hub, right? No extra piece of gear. You just put them in the socket, get them connected to your Wi-Fi network, and you can instantly control them with your smart speaker, whether it happens to be an Amazon Echo device or a Google Assistant device. And you can easily turn the lights on, off, set up schedules for them so it looks like somebody's at home even when they aren't.
Right.
Really inexpensive way to get into smart lighting because, I mean, for that price, you get just one Philips Hue bulb. Now, granted, they don't change colors necessarily. They're a standard LED light bulb, but they're super efficient and easy to control. And the last, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, that's the Casa smart bulbs.
Yep, Casa smart bulbs. And then Amazon Smart Plug. Real simple, real basic, costs $25 right now. Definitely getting discounted. I would imagine also we're going to see some of this stuff bundled together so you can get packages that just make sense for you. But smart plugs are awesome if you want to control a device. And it's an on and off kind of deal, right? Very simple. If you want to be able to power up or power down anything in your home, you can use a smart plug to do that. Real inexpensive, and you just plug them into the existing socket, and then you could plug your. If you don't want to go with a smart light bulb way, you plug in your lamps. You can plug in your curling iron if that's what you're into. I think somebody suggested that once.
Yeah, I did see that.
It's not a big problem for me. I don't need to automate my curling iron. I don't use one very often,
Before he comes in here, he just says that all the time.
Or maybe my regular iron in order to steam clean my clothes before I come in the morning.
Right. Well, there's lots to cover when it comes to that. And again, Amazon Prime Days, we're anticipating starting on July 15th. We'll have that 4-hour broadcast, but now is the time to start thinking about what you want to outfit your house with, what you want to start off with in smart homes. Certainly something that it's probably time to start thinking about incorporating some of that into your house. Well, Caleb, thank you.
You're very welcome, and I look forward to seeing you, tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, wait, Thursday.
No.
Thursday. No, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes, there it is. We're figuring all this out live right now. Here, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We are live here on Digital Trends, and we have a lot more coming up for you. Julian Chokatu is going to join us here later on the show to talk about iOS 13 and some of the updates to that you can anticipate. Some you'll like, some you won't. What his thoughts are, we'll have him on to discuss those. But coming up next, we're going to take a break here, and then we're going to be joined by the product director for Opera. We have Maciej Kotsemba, who's going to be talking about the Opera GX gaming browser, a browser designed specifically for gaming. We know online gaming is becoming more and more of a thing. Everybody's doing it. Well, this is a browser just for it. We'll talk about some of the aspects of it, some of the key design features, and a lot more while we're broadcasting live. So drop in your comments and questions. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live, and we're broadcasting live on a number of platforms, so drop in your comments and suggestions or questions as we go through the show, and we'll make sure that we address those. I'm Greg Nibbler, and as we know, online gaming is becoming an ever more present part of the gaming world, and we're seeing some updates and some products associated with that, and that's what we're going to talk about right now, and that is the Opera GX gaming browser. Joining us, we have the product director from Opera. We have Maciej Kotsemba. Hello, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for the invitation.
Let's talk about this gaming browser, something that's designed specifically for gamers. And I want to get into it, and maybe we can just talk a little bit about the history of it and what made Opera decide to launch this browser.
Well, that's a good question. Actually, a story we keep on talking and we're coming back to a couple of times. So the thing is that within lots of our talks, we gravitate towards gaming and we play games a lot. And sometimes we ask questions like, okay, we do a lot of browsers for desktop computers, for mobile devices, but what if we would do a browser for gamers? At first, it sounded like a really weird idea. But then after a moment, we started thinking, hey, there is something into that idea. Maybe we actually can address some of the things that as gamers, we also like to get from the browser. That's something that's not really offered from a typical browser out there. And after a couple, I would say, different brainstorming sessions, we came up with a couple of different things that we think, okay, this must be inside something that we would call a gaming browser that is not available in any other products at the moment. And so that was like at the very first beginning how it all started. Then we did a lot of tests. We went to some game conferences and checked with people how they like the ideas, just to verify our ideas and check how people react to this. Obviously, everybody was really curious and kind of interested what the heck is a gaming browser, because none such a thing was ever created, and none of such a thing was like available out there. But we made a bold move and say, okay, let's try it out. Let's see how it will work out, how people will like it. We like it, but it's also important that we verify those things and we take the ideas forward. And we'll see how people will like this product being developed and what we can change it and how we can tune it in the future. So it's really de facto standard as a gaming browser.
Well, talking about again, for everybody joining us, this is the Opera GX gaming browser and some of the specific things, that it's doing to help enable gamers. And I want to actually talk about some of those features because some of them I think are very cool. And as far as maybe we could start first just with like the integration with different mobile platforms, different gaming platforms. How does it integrate with that, and how does it optimize, say, something like Twitch?
So obviously, if you're a gamer, then Twitch, that whole the idea of following streams and watching someone playing is not a new thing. It's kind of a no-brainer thing that we thought basically one of the first things to integrate is how can we bring Twitch closer to the product? How can we make it more prominent? How we can make it more useful? And the most useful thing we could do from the very first release was to allow you to get a very quick access to all your channels that you follow, see who's online, and obviously the most important thing, get the notification when a new stream starts. Because that's kind of an issue, because it's very easy to overlook the very beginning of a stream, especially if you have a couple of those, and maybe you will miss out the very beginning, which might be the interesting part that you would like to see.
And then there's another interesting aspect here, talking about control. GX Control, I think maybe the name of it, but it's actually being able to control what your browser is doing and how much of your computer it's using as far as when it comes to RAM and CPU usage, which I think is really interesting. Can you talk about that and how that works and what kinds of advantages gamers would get with this?
Of course. We were going through different things the browser could do. We obviously stumbled upon a thing that none of the existing browsers could do. And one of those things is that you actually cannot control the browser in a way how much memory and CPU it's using. And it's okay if you disable or simply close the browser when you're playing. However, when you're playing and you still would like to get your browser, perhaps you're watching a Twitch stream. Perhaps you're looking for a solution on YouTube. Maybe you're just listening to music, or perhaps maybe you're watching Netflix. In those cases, it's impossible to get rid of the browser when you're playing. But the browser is not really behaving very nicely when it comes to with the game, because they're fighting for resources. And the more you get to the browser, the less the game gets. You will lose FPSs, and obviously games tend to use as much as possible because then you get the smoothest experience. So there is this obvious clash. We thought we could fix the problem and provide you with an option to make you in charge and let you be in charge of how many resources the browser can take. So you can select yourself how much memory and how much CPU the browser will use, and the browser will stay within those limits, which means that there are more resources available for your game, but also, which is important and sometimes overlooked, is that there is more resources for streaming. Streaming is kind of a really intensive process, especially that you need to run the game and also the streaming service. And this means that the less the resources are, let's say the bigger FPS drops you can see. And again, in those cases, it's not something typical that you would disable or just shut down the browser. So again, in this scenario, GX Control is something like a lifesaver, especially if you don't have the top spec device.
I think that's an interesting aspect to look at too, because we're saying it's a gaming browser, but it sounds like it can be utilized by a lot of different people as well. Like, say somebody wants to watch Digital Trends live on Opera GX, this sounds like it could be a good platform for that.
Exactly. So while we say that it's a perfect gaming browser, it's a first ever gaming browser, there is nothing stopping you to be using it, even if you're not a gamer. Anytime you would like to have better control over your browser, how many resources it uses, perhaps you're doing some other professional, there have other professional software, like, maybe video editing or graphics editing software. Those things can use every single bit of the resources. And this is where you could hack it up, so your solution will work faster because the browser will take less. That's as easy as that.
And so again, talking about Opera GX, is it out and available now? When was the product launch? And let's talk about what different platforms it's on. Is it on mobile, computers only? Where are we at on that?
Okay, so let's take it from the start. We launched during E3. That's happened very, very recently. We've got pretty nice reaction from the press. Some even called it like the best launch of E3, which we love
nice.
A lot. But this is really very positive feedback for us, because this means that we have tapped into some needs that we can fulfill, and it means that it's very rewarding work. At this moment, Opera GX is available for desktop computers with Windows system. This is where we started. This is like a most common platform for gamers, and this is where we started because we can get the most amount of feedback, and that's really important for us. As right now, Opera GX is launched in a mode we call early access, which means that it's good enough for you to try it out, to play with it, and see how it works. But we don't consider it to be finished, which means that all of the features that we have added on top of typical Opera are still in production, which means that we'll be updating them and especially taking kind of feedback from users, which are getting quite a lot right now, and you're trying to use it to shape the product.
Well, there it is. Try it out now. Opera GX, gaming browser, first of its kind. And, congratulations on the launch. Congratulations on, some of that great press coverage. And I'll be trying it out to watch our show on there. But Maciej Kotsema, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It was very nice to be here.
All right, so talking about a brand new browser for gamers. And we have more to talk about continuing on here with Digital Trends. Lots to cover today. Like I said, Julian Chikatu is going to be joining us, but up next, we're going to take a break here. Then we're joined by George Fox from Hedkayse with a unique kind of helmet. I've got the helmet in here. It's a bike helmet that collapses. It's pretty amazing technologically is how it's designed. We're going to talk all about that. If you have questions, comments, anything at all, drop them into the browser that you're watching us on. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Again, keeping you updated on all kinds of tech headlines, news, and interviews here as we go throughout the show, and talking about technological innovations, new products, new things that you can use, and new ways of thinking about things that we use every day. And we're going to be talking about that right now. Joining us, we have from Hedkayse, the co-managing director and technical director, we have George Fox. Hello, George.
Hi there, how are you doing?
Doing great. We've got your product right here, this helmet that you've got from Hedkayse. Before I walk through this, because it's really pretty neat. I've been trying to play around with it actually all morning. Why don't we have you walk through and talk about what Hedkayse does, and then we'll get into this in particular product.
That's very kind of you, thank you. So the reason why we started Hedkayse is because cycle helmets do work. Apologies for the background noise. They do work. They save lives, and they're brilliant. We've got nothing against them. Unfortunately, they're very fragile. So most cycle helmets, this sort of thing that you'll recognize here, are made from material called polystyrene. Now, if I sort of zoom in a bit close, I don't know if the video quality is going to show, but you can see there are some sort of split lines and damaged lines. And this can happen as just a result of the general wear and tear, everyday life using these things. Accidentally dropping it on the floor, something like that. And people pick them up and they go, no, I'll be fine, put it back on, and off they go. And it's very difficult to guarantee the safety of that product once it's had an impact. So manufacturers will always say you need to replace your helmet. Really, really important. And this seems crazy because cycling is, it's not clean. It's not easy. You can fall off, little knocks, little bangs. If you're an urban commuter, if you're a mountain biker, there's always a relatively high risk of bumps and scrapes and knocks. And you want to make sure that if there is an accident, you've got a product that will give you the best performance you can possibly have. And it's the reason why we've done this. So it recovers after an impact. It's a new material we've manufactured, we've engineered. It's called Hedkayse. And that's why you can probably feel now, if you give it a bit of a squeeze, it's soft. It's kind of feels like chewing gum.
Yeah, to showcase, I know we're broadcasting live here. I'm not sure if everybody can see, but like you were showing with the normal hard helmet, this is actually a whole bunch of pieces that are almost put together. And so it's flexible. I can bend it. I can squeeze it. Yeah, it's a very interesting material. Can you talk about the technological side of this?
Absolutely. So the reason why we wanted to do this is the challenge originally was, can we make a folding helmet? And in order to make a helmet fold with a rigid material like polystyrene, you need to have mechanisms. And that I kind of question, is that safe? Should you just have a single piece? So we wanted to have a material that just squashes flat because it's convenient. You can squish it like this, shove it in your bag. It's nice and easy if you're commuting, if you're getting the train in and then you're cycling when you get there. The idea of the material is it can just withstand so much abuse, and it will still keep performing or giving you the level of performance that you need to have as required by safety standards. We've got one helmet that we've impacted over 200 times and hit number 201. It was still performing like it was fresh out of the box. So if you're going to have that many accidents, you should probably stop cycling. But the idea is we just give people that reassurance that it's safe, that this is not going to let you down. It's about time this changed, because that technology has been around since at least the 60s.
Right.
And look at the running shoe, look at other items and how technology's just absolutely skyrocketed away. And yet we're still working with the same raw materials. So this is why we've done this. It's time for a change. Yeah,
and talking about the material itself, the safety side, I want to get into that just a little bit more too, about how this specifically works. But as far as the convenience factor, being able to, compress it and put it into like a backpack or something like that, this makes it way easier for people commuting around, even beyond, and I'm sure this isn't maybe not necessarily what I should say, but when it comes to like renting bikes or renting a scooter or something like that, where you need a helmet around, this could be a way that you could actually have something more portable, so you're not carrying around a big, giant, hard case all the time.
Absolutely. The helmet that will keep you safe is the one that you have with you. Sorry for the corny phrase.
Yeah.
And if it's easy to store, it's not something that you're just going to go, I can't be bothered, it's too big or bulky. You're going to take it with you. And it's the reliability, it's knowing that you can drop it on the floor, you can have a little bump. I'm terrible on my road bike, and I'll forget my feet are in my cleats and I'll wobble over a traffic light. Those little knocks, they're enough to potentially break the helmet. And people that are just, our biggest concern is, how can you be sure that the people that you care about are wearing a product that's going to perform and be safe or do the job it's meant to do in the event of an accident? And we wish that that wasn't a concern that people had. So we're going to do the best job we possibly can to give them a product that gives them that reliability.
It's pretty incredible what you've come up with here. Now, on the technical side, so is this proprietary stuff that you have in here? I mean, maybe you can tell me. Me explaining is probably not going to do very much good. But with each one of these pieces, what are we looking at here that keeps you protected?
So the material inside is it's a foam, but it's our secret recipe. It's
okay.
Our coconut recipe. I could tell you, but we're televised, so it's going to be.
That's okay. Totally understandable. But it is pretty amazing what you've got here. And you've done a ton of testing on it. Like you said, you dropped it to, I don't know, a couple hundred times there for one person, or maybe more than that. What are some of the different ways that you've seen this utilized so far? Like, I guess, where is it at in the market? Because I know people are going to want to buy this. Where's it at in the market? How can people get it? Where are we at on that side of it?
Thank you very much. So at the moment, the product is now market ready. We are manufacturing here in the UK. You can go to our website. Am I allowed to say the website name?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are Hedkayse.com. We're spelled, as you can see it down on the screen, just here, H-A-Y-S-E. And we're manufacturing. It's just the start. It's taken years of development to get to this stage. We had an enormous amount of fantastic support from crowdfunders who have been with us for a couple of years whilst we've been sorting this out, getting it right. The amount of changes, the journey itself has been monumental, but it's now the start of the real journey. You know, the people who have ordered them, they're starting to receive them. We're getting feedback. It's fantastic to know that people that we are looking after are wearing these.
How does it feel just on a personal level? Like you said, it's been years of developing, years to get to this point. You've got it here in your hand. You're now, on a show talking about this product that you've created. Like, how does that feel?
It's a good feeling. It's a very good feeling. It's been, a grueling 3 or 4 years, thousands and thousands of tests. When we started making this, the process for a lot of stereotypical cycle helmets is they make the products and then they go, oh, now we have to do the testing. Well, our whole intention was, let's make the safest helmet in the world. Let's do something that just blows everything else out of the water. And it's definitely the start of that journey. This is it's a very convenient product. It's great for urban commuting. It's great for urban living. It's great for if you're a mountain biker. There could be other products going forward. Obviously, the material works with so many other potential applications, but we just need to concentrate on our base, on our core, make sure we fulfill the existing orders and give people the opportunity to ride with this, see what they think. It's definitely, well, hopefully from our point of view, the start of a bit of a movement. I'd love to see this material replacing polystyrene in all cycle helmets going forward, because if it can be more reliable, which one are you going to choose? Obviously, the one that's not going to let you down.
I can tell you I want one because I ride a bike. I live in Portland, Oregon, ride a bike all the time. Yeah, this is absolutely something I want. So very, very cool. Such a cool product. And congratulations on the success and getting to this point, from both the business standpoint, but also creating something that's really cool that, that potentially could change the industry.
Thank you ever so much. It's really it's good to hear those words.
Well, George, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate everything you're doing. Again, Hedkayse, you can check it out, Hedkayse, KAYSE.com, right there, and take a look for yourself. George, thanks for being on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you. A real pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
All right, that is really cool. This product, I'm not even joking. For everybody watching live, like, this is something that I want. Like, that's a cool innovation right there. And this one may just disappear and fall off of the desk. I don't know. But anyway, we've got more to talk about here as we go through digital trends today. I'm going to keep you up to date on some news coming up here in a minute. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we'll do that. We've got more to talk about, though. We have Julian Chikatu who's going to be joining us, as I said earlier. We have Sam Bobley from Ocrolus, the CEO and co-founder of that. So much to talk about, so much to cover. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Drop in your comments, your questions, your suggestions, whatever you want to bring up. I'm here. I'm live. We'll talk to you. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. It's Digital Trends Live. Thank you for watching. We broadcast live every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific and noon Eastern. I know I say that a lot, but I want to make sure that you know, and that way you can join us for the whole show, for parts of the show, whatever you want to do, but you can always go back and watch it afterward and share different segments, hit that subscribe button, you get the notifications, and then we go up on all kinds of different platforms. So tell your friends. Let's talk about some news, though. Right now, I want to bring you up to date on a couple of other stories that are going on that I think are pretty important, and this relates to the SpaceX launch. Digging in just a little bit on one particular thing that was launched with this Falcon Heavy that went up earlier today, last night, depending on what time zone you're in. And that has to do with the atomic clock. So NASA sent up a very specific atomic clock, and there's a reason this is important. It could affect your life later on. It could affect us directly. There's a lot of technology that goes into space that they utilize and then ends up affecting us. Think about GPS, things along those lines. Well, this atomic clock is kind of like GPS for space travel. Let's use it in that aspect. And I wanted to just explain a little bit of how this works and why it's important as we see more and more space travel going forward. And when you're in space, when somebody's monitoring, say, a module going somewhere or anything really going out further, you think about further and further in space, going to the moon or Mars, you're using clocks. You use time to navigate. Space is a complicated place. You can't just say go right 300 feet. You're going to be fine. You have to use time, and the way they do that is they bounce time back and forth. They bounce this back and forth between the Earth and whatever the object is. Now, right now, we use giant antennas on Earth and send that out. And there's a problem with that in that we can send it out as at the speed of light, but once it gets to that clock, there's distance that's covered, and then that's how you measure the distance. So the amount of time that passes, and we're talking milliseconds or less, nanoseconds, that tells you how far something has gone. If something's going very, very fast, it'll tell you how fast it's gone. You can place it, and geoposition it. And the clocks that we use right now are mostly based around quartz. So quartz crystal clock, think of your watch on your hand, that's how we normally use it. And the reason is when you send, just to keep it very simple, but when you send a voltage through a quartz, there's a specific time that we know. It's very, very standard. Generally speaking, a very good way to keep track of time, at least if you're on Earth and you're not having to worry about something like space travel. When it comes to space travel, it's not so reliable. It can actually go off by a millisecond over about, I believe it's a month or so. Let's say a full millisecond within 6 weeks. It could be a full millisecond off of time. And that's just because of the natural qualities of what a crystal is. Well, that translates into, 1 millisecond translates into 185 miles in space that you could be off in any direction. Can't have that when you're trying to navigate something that far away or something's trying to navigate itself. So the atomic clock is far more accurate. It would take 10 million years for an atomic clock to be off by a whole second, or 10 years for it to even be off by 1 microsecond. And on top of that, it can correct itself. So I know that's a lot of explaining clocks. I know that seems like that's something like, okay, great, it's a really accurate clock. But it is very important going forward. The more we see space travel, the more that we're out there, we're trying to take people to Mars, or we're trying to have autonomous vehicles out there, they need to know where they're at, and this is the way to do it. So it's like GPS for space travel, that kind of technology, atomic clocks. Clearly we're not gonna have an atomic clock on our wrists anytime soon. But these are the kinds of technologies that could be adapted to other aspects, to other ways, other parts of our lives that we don't even know yet. So I wanted to let you know on that. One thing that went up with the SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch. There's a lot more you can follow up on, but that is the atomic clock. All right, something else that's pretty cool, the development that came on. This is talking about electric vehicles, but maybe thinking about it a little bit beyond that. So electric vehicles, one of the things we always worry about with them, or at least I do, and I don't own one, but one of the concerns that I feel like a lot of people have is, what if you run out of juice when you're, out on the road? And for the most part, it's not really a concern. You're probably going to find somewhere. It's probably a little bit unfounded at this point. However, the longer we can go, the better. And there's a company that is working on just that. They're called Lightyear. And the companies actually came out of a bunch of college students who were trying to develop a solar-powered car for a competition. And they did that. They won an award for it. And this is not the solar-powered car they won an award for. Isn't going to be something that you're going to be seeing on the road. It was a specific competition. But they've used some of that technology and formed a company called Lightyear. And now they've shown what their solar-powered electric car is going to look like. It's called the Lightyear 1. So you can see it right there. There's just an example. And now the key things on this, the top of the car, the roof of the car, and certain specific parts of the car are actually solar panels. It's actually collecting energy as it's driving along. And what they talked about is how they can not totally power it via solar energy, but they can extend it and it can last a lot longer with utilizing that solar energy. It accents it, at least as far as where it's at right now. So these students are from the University of Eindhoven, and they won the World Solar Challenge race, and that was with their Stella solar car. That's the first one. So that technology now applied to this. That's the Lightyear 1 is what it's called. The name's pretty catchy, not too bad. And what they can do is they're saying that you can get 450 miles out of this electric vehicle before you have to charge it with a standard electric charge. Right now, Tesla Model S is the market leader at 370 miles. So they're saying they can get 80 more miles utilizing these solar panels. It hasn't really been tested out by a lot of people, but this is what they're saying on it. And they are putting it into production. And it's going to be, they're going to make 500 of them first. And so it's not going to be a ton of these that are going to be made. And it's going to be a few years before you can actually get your hands on it. And the other thing is it's going to be kind of expensive. So they're saying they can deliver these to consumers by 2021 is when they're planning on having these out and delivered. But the price, this could be a little bit of a sticking point. It's going to be around $135,000 to start off with, they have a reservation price of $135,000. Then you have to pay another $35,000 because it's going to be around $170,000. This isn't going to be for everybody. If they can make enough of these, if they can mass market it, if they can even get it down, I don't know, $100,000 less than that, I could see a lot more people adopting it. Certainly going to be expensive, but utilizing that kind of technology could be a really interesting thing to add on to cars. The more efficient solar panels we get, the more that we can add that onto it, the longer you can extend that mileage that you can get out of an electric vehicle. Pretty cool prospect, and it's neat to see a company that's actually doing it, and that's Lightyear with the Lightyear 1. Let us know what you think about their solar-powered electric vehicle. All right, final thing that I want to talk about. If you're in Toronto, you know all about this, but this is something that actually just was released from a company called Sidewalk Labs. Now, Sidewalk is a subsidiary of Alphabet, the owner of Google. So this is a massively funded project. And this is something that's going to be developed in Toronto right now for a new smart city called Quayside. Really a smart neighborhood, but it's still a pretty big area. And this has been in the works for a while. Toronto was looking for somebody to partner with to develop this certain neighborhood in Toronto into essentially a smart city area utilizing technology. It's called Quayside. It's about a 10-minute bike ride from Union Station in Toronto. And this is Google's way I'm saying Google, but it is Sidewalk Labs' way to come up with a new city. There's some really interesting design aspects. They're doing it from the ground up. They said the buildings are going to be wood because that's more efficient and environmentally friendly. So they want to build the buildings out of wood. But everything's going to have sensors. They're going to keep track of all kinds of data. And the data that they're keeping track of, they said, is not going to be used for any personal data, but they want data in the sidewalks. They want to be able to monitor sidewalks. They want to monitor traffic. They want to see where people are going so they can more efficiently get people around the city. They're going to utilize autonomous vehicles. They want to utilize robotic deliveries. They want to, for their garbage disposal system, the buildings are going to be built with a special tube that you will drop your garbage in. It'll go underground, and then it'll take it to wherever their receptacles are that they store their garbage or recycling. Pretty neat stuff. When you're building a city from the ground up, you can do those kinds of things. And this is something that they're doing for this Quayside neighborhood. Pretty interesting. They released today, one of the big things right now is that they released their Master Innovation and Development Plan. So you can take a look at it. It's pages and pages and pages of how they want this built. And their plan is that it's a $1.3 billion project right now. They say it's going to spur $38 billion in private sector investment by 2040. They've got a timeline of how they want to start planning these out, how they're going to start building these, and they have other neighborhoods they want to incorporate. Let us know what you think. You can take a look at it. Pretty interesting prospect of where cities could go, what could be utilized, some of it good, some of it bad. Let us know what you think, and you will always love to hear your comments on that. So that is, again, the Quayside City in Toronto. All right, continuing on with Digital Trends Live, we do like to talk about cutting-edge technology. We like to talk about ways that we can utilize technology to better our lives, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. I'm Craig Nibbler. We're joined by Sam Bobley, the CEO and co-founder of Ocrolus. Hello.
Hey, Greg, how are you today?
Doing well. Thanks so much for joining us. Really impressive product that you have here. I want to talk about that in particular and some of the different ways it can help us out when it comes to finances. But let's get a little bit of your history, because I think it's pretty interesting what you've created, and get a little bit of your backstory and what led you into this company.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. My name is Sam Bobley. I'm a 27-year-old fintech entrepreneur, and I've been trained since I was in diapers to be an entrepreneur. My dad is a serial entrepreneur. He started a financial technology company, among a few other ventures that he started over the course of his career. So kind of my whole life growing up, I always knew that I wanted to follow in his footsteps and do something entrepreneurial. When I was in undergrad, I was fascinated about the problem of reviewing financial documents. I just couldn't believe in this day and age how much tedious manual review work was required to sift through bank statements, pay stubs, tax documents, and other financial documents and forms. And we conceived Ocrolus to solve that problem in a modern and elegant way.
And you're right. It takes forever to go through bank documents, financial forms. I mean, it's so tedious and exhausting. So you wanted to figure out a different way to do it. And you're like, okay, so we can create a company that can do it. So how do you do that?
Yeah, great question. So I guess the best way to explain it is through an analogy. I'm sure that you and the viewers here have gone to a website and been asked to prove you're not a robot and type in these digits. It's called a CAPTCHA task. What most people don't realize is when you're performing a CAPTCHA task, you may actually be helping Google digitize millions of old books, menus, and magazines into searchable data. Google used image recognition technology to try to read scanned texts, millions of old scanned texts, but they ran into accuracy problems. Different fonts, formats, poor image quality. Google wasn't able to read every word accurately. So what they did was quite brilliant. They snipped the words they couldn't read with a high degree of confidence and routed them to folks like me and you, asking us to prove that we're not robots and type in these digits, thus validating the words that the machines couldn't automatically read. The end result of this is 30 million plus books, menus, and magazines are now searchable online with perfect accuracy. We took that exact same concept and applied it to financial documents. The way that our platform works is we ingest financial documents and use a series of machine learning and pattern recognition algorithms to validate whatever information we can automatically. Whatever we can't validate automatically, we route through a series of human quality control steps to ensure 99+% accuracy, regardless of the format or quality of the input. So piggybacking off of the Google Books initiative, we brought a new type of image recognition type of technology to financial services.
So it really is utilizing a little bit of your algorithms and your artificial intelligence, I guess AI, if you want to apply that term to it, to analyze these documents, but then also some human interaction as well, if it's not right. So that probably makes it pretty accurate, the information that you're going to end up getting. But with all that data, what do you do with that data after that? How does the company utilize it? How do you store it? Let's go from there.
Yeah, so the primary use case for our product is in the lending space. If you're applying for a consumer loan, a mortgage loan, or a small business loan, you're typically asked to submit 3 to 6 months worth of bank statements, pay stubs, tax documents, and other documentation. Instead of an underwriter reviewing those documents and pulling out key data points about the borrower, our solution does that automatically. So we read, validate all the information, and then we give back perfectly accurate data and analytics into our customer's back office system. In the case of a lender, this enables them to essentially automatically decide if the borrower should be funded or declined without having any human underwriting process on their end.
That must make it, I mean, faster for both the consumer, somebody asking for a loan, and for the bank themselves. Anything that can speed up that process, which if anybody out there has gone through that process, that's also tedious and exhausting when you're sending documents constantly. So that's great to speed that kind of thing up. Let's go back to talking about this platform that you developed. I think it's really interesting, that CAPTCHA side of it, because I bet a lot of people didn't realize that, including myself, that's what was going on with that information. So how do you see that kind of interaction, using training artificial intelligence, training these algorithms on what data they're seeing with the human interaction? What kinds of applications do you see that being applied to going forward?
Yeah, great question. So I think firstly, it sounds counterintuitive at the surface level when people hear, you're building a software product and then you're embedding human intuition into that product.
Right.
It takes a bit of a leap to kind of understand exactly what the product is doing. But I guess there are two primary things. Firstly, we're able to create 99+% accurate output on every pass. Secondly, we create a wealth of ideal training data that we can use in a feedback loop to constantly increase automation in the system, making it faster and more efficient. In terms of expanding beyond our core use cases, small business lending has been our sweet spot. We're now aggressively rolling out the product in consumer, auto, and mortgage lending. But we also have many applications beyond that. We have a few hundred customers in the accounting and legal sectors working on divorce cases, healthcare eligibility cases, a variety of different investigative cases, and various government entities using the product. We're now also getting into the account opening space, where we can allow people to snap cell phone images of their IDs, bank statements, utility bills, and other documents for proof of identity and proof of address. And we're also playing in the robotic process automation space, where we have partnerships to help streamline end-to-end workflows that are focused on documents. So there's a pretty broad set of applications for the technology, but the lending space has really been our sweet spot.
That's great. And is this available now? I mean, clearly you've got some companies that are available now, but what size of company would you say is ideal for utilizing this technology?
Yeah, so it's available now. We've had the product in production for over 3 years now. Just to give you the quick timeline, founded the company in 2014, had a beta version out in 2015, launched and began generating revenue in 2016, and it's kind of been a snowball effect since then. We have a few hundred customers using the platform, ranging from small and mid-sized accountants and attorneys, all the way up to large-scale enterprise lending customers like Bluevine, Capita, Fora Financial, and quite a few others. We are now working on implementations with a few banks and mortgage lenders. So I'd say we're ready for prime time and eager to onboard more enterprise customers. And
I know that you just completed a Series B funding as well. So congratulations on that. It looks like I'm taking a look here, $24 million. Where do you look at applying that? How do you plan to grow the business with that?
Yeah, so the primary use of funds will be on the technology side. We're going to be expanding the library of documents that our solution covers, and also deepening our fraud detection and analytical capabilities to help our customers really kind of get a more comprehensive view on every single file. So the bulk of the effort will be on the technology side, where we see a big opportunity to invest heavily and replicate what we've done on bank statements and pay stubs with a variety of different documents. But also on the sales side, we're now focused on expanding upon the success we've had in the non-bank lending space and moving into selling to traditional banks and financial institutions.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on that, and congrats on all the success so far. Sounds like you are really onto something. Really cool use of technology for something that can help out a lot of people, quite honestly, and save a lot of time. That's really important, and that's what you've got going here. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate the time.
All right, really cool use of technology right there. Talk about using artificial intelligence and human ingenuity, combining both, something that's a really fascinating use. So that is, again, Sam Bobley with Ocrolus, so you can find out more information about them online. All right, let's take another quick break. Then we have Julian Jacatu coming back on to talk about iOS 13. He is our mobile editor. We're going to discuss the updates. If you're an Apple iPhone user, let us know your thoughts. If you have questions for him, now's the time to get those in, and we'll make sure that we ask those directly to Julian, because that's what we can do here when we're broadcasting live. All right, we'll take a break. Back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Trends Live. Again, we like to keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of technology, especially that which can affect you. And we're going to be talking about that right now. I'm Greg Nibbler, joined from our New York studio by Julian Chikatu. Hello, Julian.
Hey, how are you, Greg?
Doing well. So first off, for those of you who are longtime listeners, I like the redesign of the New York studio. It looks great. The colors are perfect. Well, let's talk about what's going on with iOS 13. So we knew this was going to be rolling out at some point from the Worldwide Developers Conference, but now it's out for beta testing where people can actually download it and use it. You've been trying it. I guess, first off, maybe recommendations for people who want to download it. What should they know before they just go there and instantly download this?
Okay, well, yeah, so with all things, the public beta came early. With all betas, we usually say you should probably not install it just because, it's a beta. I'd say if you have a older iPhone lying around, try it on that, as long as it's supported. I don't think you should use it as your daily phone if you're going to install the public beta, just because things can go wrong. That being said, I've been using this on the iPhone XR, the iOS 13 public beta on the XR, and it's been more or less fine. There have been a few apps that crash now and then, but otherwise I think it's been pretty stable. But again, who knows what could happen. I strongly recommend you definitely back up your data first before you try to download it.
Okay, good. So that's for everybody out there. So don't follow anything that I'm saying. Yeah, definitely follow Julian's advice and make sure you have everything backed up. All right, but now that we've said that, going forward, what are some of the updates? What are the big ones that you liked the most? What can we expect?
So it might sound small, but a big one is definitely dark mode. It's all about changing the user interface for changing the lighter themes that are currently available to darker themes, so that basically when you're lying in bed at night, you don't burn your eyes out. I've been using it on all the time, and I think overall it just looks better that way. But of course, if you prefer the lighter tones, you can just have that on yourself. You can even schedule dark mode to come on at night, just in case you want to sort of mix it up between those two. But that's definitely it. One of the key visual changes that you'll see immediately with iOS 13, and it's pretty nice. But I will say that right now it's only optimized for Apple's apps, but as the public beta ends and the official version launches, you'll see developers adding a dark mode to all their apps, or most apps at least, and that'll just be nice overall to have the extra option for all your apps to have a darker theme.
So dark mode, and I know, a lot of people are very excited about dark mode. And like every different platform, once there's an announcement for it, people go crazy over it. Well, what about what are some of the other things that are coming to this? I know with photos.
Sure. So they did say that there's going to be like performance upgrades. I can't really tell because I'm running the latest iPhone, which already feels pretty fast. So I assume that the performance bumps, which is something like 30%. It's still going to be 30% faster face unlock. That's definitely true. Face unlock is definitely a little faster, but otherwise you should see general performance updates, and I think you'll really tell if you're installing iOS 13 on an older phone, like an iPhone 7, for example. However, I think one of the other cooler features that I like a lot is swipe typing, which is also called a quick path, according to Apple. And if you've used Android phones, you can even use it on iOS right now. It's basically sliding your finger around the keyboard to type. That's available with third-party keyboards, but Apple is finally building that in natively to the keyboard on iOS, which I think a lot of people stick to the default keyboard when using an iPhone. So it's definitely going to be a new experience for them, an old experience for people coming from Android phones or using third-party keyboards on iOS. And it really is just like, I think a key takeaway for me is just it makes everything so much nicer because I'm, I guess you could say, a pro at swipe typing. I've been using it all my smartphone life, I guess, and it just makes typing easier for me. So if you are someone that has dabbled in swipe typing, or maybe you've wanted to try it, definitely something that you can try with the native keyboard on iOS 13. And another thing that I wanted to say is that there are nice UI tweaks that I think Apple has finally addressed. For example, when you're changing the volume now, it's no longer disrupting your experience by giving you a giant screen in the middle of the screen, basically. So it's going to be a little nice indicator on the side, which is kind of nice. And the same thing with the mute switch. When you toggle it on and off, it's going to give you a little alert at the top saying, hey, you're in silent mode now, rather than a disruptive thing in the middle, which is kind of nice. And in the same way, in the control center, when you press and hold on Wi-Fi, you can actually see all the Wi-Fi networks then and there, very much like in Android. And that means you can just switch to a Wi-Fi network or find a Wi-Fi network straight in the control center rather than going into the settings. That's always just been a pet peeve of mine, coming from someone who uses a lot more Android phones. I like being able to just quickly bring down that notification bar and connect to Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and being able to do that quickly here is definitely a plus. And one of the other cooler changes is the Photos app, which got like I guess you could say it's a big redesign. More or less, the entire home screen experience of the Photos app has gotten a makeover, in the sense that there's now, for me at least, my camera roll has just a bunch of stuff in it, from screenshots to just a lot of clutter, and it does not look pretty at all. What they've added now in the main page is this years, month, and days tabs. So when you tap on days, it'll try to pick the most relevant images of the day, or the nicest looking images, and the same applies for months. It'll try to focus on a particular nice image, and it'll even autoplay videos if you have videos, or even live photos if you have live photos. And if for years, it kind of does something similar, but it's also going a step further. For example, say someone's birthday just passed and you celebrate it every year, and say you just took some pictures of their birthday. When you go to the years field, it'll then populate all the other cover photos for all the previous years with that person's birthday, so you kind of get a nice little collage of just seeing all the birthday histories if you have those photos available as well. So it's using on-device machine learning there. It's pretty neat, and also that's not just all that's new in Photos. There's a lot more editing tools when you're editing photos and videos, so you can definitely get more customization out of the default Photos app, and you can finally rotate a video, which is something that is kind of like, how have you not been able to do that yet? Well, you can now. So that's pretty nice in iOS 13.
So those are just some of the updates from the beta update. Now, when will this roll out for everybody in like the final version?
Yeah, so, that's definitely just a very, 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 very small section of the update that I just talked to you about. There's so much more. The Health app got a redesign. Of course, there's also iPad OS, which I wanted to mention, which is basically a separate version now of iOS 13. It has a lot of the same features. It's just now a dedicated OS for iPads. So that's all coming probably September. I mean, most likely September. It's almost always Apple is releasing their big final software launches alongside the latest iPhones, which will typically happens around September. So expect the update to drop, say, mid-September, early September, something like that, alongside potential new iPhones in the same month. And otherwise, if you, again, really want to try it now, you have the public beta available. That we have an instruction guide on digitaltrends.com if you want to check out how to download it. But disclaimer, just back up your stuff and be careful.
Back it up. Well, all right, Julian, thank you again, for joining us here today, talking about it. You've got your stuff backed up, so you've tried it out. We've got the article at digitaltrends.com too, walking through everything you just talked about and all of those other aspects as well, with the iOS 11 and the health app updates. Everybody can check that out there. Julian, once again, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that is Julian Chikatu, our mobile editor here at Digital Trends. Our mobile team is always working hard to keep you up to date on everything that is going on with the world of mobile technology, and in particular that iOS 13 update. Pretty interesting updates. So let us know what you think about those. Continuing on air, we're gonna tell you just a little bit, recap just a little bit of what we've talked about today, which is so much. We have covered a lot, as usual. Starting off the show, of course, we had Adrian Warner in here talking about the SpaceX launch, talking about some other news items that are going on. There, we always have everything up to date at digitaltrends.com. You can keep track of everything that goes on in the world of tech throughout the day. Digital Trends on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn Live, all those different platforms. We are on them. Then also, on the show today, we had Caleb Dennison giving you kind of a guide on how to set up a smart home, how to get that starter kit going, getting ready for Prime Days, which is officially confirmed. July 15th and 16th. Prime Days will be happening, which means on July 15th, we'll be having a 4-hour broadcast that day, walking you through the best deals. So make sure you mark that on your calendar. July 15th, it's Monday. We'll be here 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. bringing you up to date on everything that's going on with that and telling you about the best deals in a bunch of different platforms. That's a whole conversation we'll have another time. But coming up also, or just going back on what we talked about today, we had Michiel Kotsemba from Opera, talking about the Opera GX gaming browser. We had George Fox from Hedkayse with that really cool helmet, that redesign of a helmet. Very, very cool. We had Sam Bobley from Ocrolus talking about their financial document reading platform, and of course Julian Chikatu here on the show. We also want to remind everybody that we have that deal going on right now for the speaker, the Ultimate Ears, the Wonder Boom. It is, I left it down below here, but it is a great speaker, and so follow that bit.ly, bit.ly/DTLiveBoom, and you can take advantage of that special. It's $43.99, I believe. A really good, great deal on a waterproof, great speaker. So take advantage of that. Coming up on tomorrow's show, Luke Larson is going to be joining us to talk about some computing news. Bring us up to date on that. We've got Rihanna Lin from Journey Foods, Mahesh Chadha from reservations.com. All kinds of conversations that we're going to have, and of course bringing you up to date on the news and everything going on in the world of that. It's so much fun being here every day, talking to you live on Digital Trends platforms, or many different platforms. We appreciate you sharing the show, letting other people know. Thank you for joining us here every day. Follow along at Digital Trends for the rest of the day. All of our different tech news updates that we'll have for you. Whatever you want to find out more about, go to digitaltrends.com and dig into it right there. We'll be back tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.